on today's podcast, we're breaking down the terminology toxic positivity to help us all realize that there is nothing positive about the term toxic positivity. We'll break down what the real toxicity is when people are gravitating toward this term and reframe the conversation around what positive leadership truly looks like. Welcome back to the Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome in. So glad you are here. We are in season 8, which means we got like 220 episodes or something like that, which is fantastic. And for those of you who've been with us from the beginning, I know and I encourage you to go back and listen to old episodes that really resonated with you. And if you're new to the podcast, I hope you will check that out. We're so glad you're here. My commitment to you is that hopefully this is a place that always challenges you to think a little bit, breathe a little good oxygen into you, and helps you think about the temperature that you're trying to set in your life and your work. Honored to get to do this and so glad that you are here. If you'll do me the quick favor before we start with today's episode, if you'll rate the podcast 5 stars, if you have episodes that particularly resonate with you and topics you really like, then I hope you'll not only rate them, but leave a review in your own words of why it resonates with you. And then I also invite you to think about people in your life, your work, your team, that topics that you want to share with them and say, hey, let's listen to it and then talk about it together. Share it on social media, whatever's authentic for you. All of those ways help amplify these messages and spread them further into the world. So thanks for everybody that does that. You may have heard the term toxic positivity lately. It has become a popular term and references people who are continuously positive in the midst of challenging situations. I understand the angst behind this experience, but I also want to make sure we understand terminology better and realize that toxic positivity, what it's being called toxic positivity, is absolutely not positive. There is nothing positive about it. So let's make sure we understand what we truly are talking about or what the toxicity actually is. So on today's podcast, we're breaking down the terminology toxic positivity to help us all realize that there is nothing positive about the term toxic positivity. We'll break down what the real toxicity is when people are gravitating toward this term and reframe the conversation around what positive leadership truly looks like. But before we dive into today's topic, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference, or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. So today we're talking about the term toxic positivity. People often, reference it to mean someone who is endlessly positive and therefore becomes toxic because it isn't acknowledging the realities that people are facing. And so I understand that experience to be frustrating, annoying, and maybe even toxic when someone is ignoring the realities to just quote unquote be positive. However, I want to make sure we don't misunderstand this to be positive leadership. In fact, there's nothing positive about this terminology, toxic positivity. If it's toxic, then it's not positive. It's that simple. So let's go back and define positive leadership so we're all on the same page. And then I think some of this terminology may make more sense to us, because I want to get at when people say that, I understand what they're trying to say, but I want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. So let's define it. Because this term positive leadership, it appears on the cover of my latest book, Breathing Oxygen, where the subtitle is How Positive Leadership Gives Life to Winning Cultures. So I want to be clear from the beginning that when I'm talking about positive leadership, what I don't mean is, hey, come on, everybody, let's just stay positive. Or it'll be okay, just stay positive. I'm not talking about this kind of Pollyannic fairy tale kind of form of leadership where we just pretend the tough obstacles we're facing don't exist or the challenges we're facing and that we're just supposed to bury our head in the sand and just quote unquote stay positive. That isn't positive leadership. That's fairy tale leadership. And the fairy tale or fake positivity is what people are referencing, I believe, when they use that term toxic positivity. It becomes toxic only when it is fake or when it feels like a fairy tale. It feels like we're ignoring realities just in an attempt to quote, let's not rock the boat. Let's just quote unquote stay positive. Again, that's not positive leadership. That's fake or fairy tale leadership that's ignoring realities, and therefore that can become toxic. So let's get on the same page about what positive leadership truly means and looks like. Positive leadership does not run or hide from the obstacles we might be facing. A positive leader does not run or hide from the obstacles they're facing. In fact, positive leaders are direct and willing to name the challenges, the obstacles, the imperfections, with vulnerability, the willingness to acknowledge the tough things that are facing, and yet still chooses to believe in a future that we can create together. And I hope you see the distinction there. Positive leaders name the obstacles and still believe in a future that we can create together. They believe in the pursuit of solutions and the grit that it will require to pull together to find ways to get better and move forward. Positive leadership then is not fairy tale. It's real and it's tough and it's challenging, but it breathes good oxygen into the room that helps all people move forward and helps us navigate those challenges and opportunities that we're faced with. So this toxic positivity, when people say it, what I think they're really saying is toxic positivity is when people are fake or they're ignoring the realities or they just don't want to talk about the tough stuff. They just want to quote unquote stay positive. That I understand can become toxic. But true positive leadership actually names those obstacles and challenges and helps us move forward. Leaders who understand this and teams and organizations that are committed to helping their people breathe better, helping them understand what true positive leadership really looks like, these are the ones where the performance actually expands. We're able to navigate those challenges and obstacles more gracefully. These are the leaders, teams, and organizations that realize that they need to continuously be in the business of identifying the obstacles and not running or hiding from them, but still being optimistic about the future that we can do if we're willing to dive in and do the work and continue to move forward. And that effort alone of not hiding or pretending or being fairy tale, that kind of leadership actually breathes oxygen into people. And we know that the process that leaders and teams and organizations go through to develop that kind of positive and real and genuine, authentic kind of leadership and mindsets throughout their culture, those are the ones that thrive. The ones that are fairy tale or not genuine, fake, those are the ones that, yes, I understand could become toxic. So, a couple of questions for us to ponder this week as we think about this. What are the obstacles or challenges that you might be facing? And are you able to name them? What opportunities also exist to move these things forward and stimulate progress? How will you and the people around you choose to believe in the future you can create together? And what are those first actions? And how can you take the term toxic positivity out of your lexicon and reframe it of what positive leadership truly looks like? Again, we all have opportunity to breathe appreciation and gratitude for all that's within our control. We have in control to not be toxic, but to be positive leaders, again, that name the challenges and also are willing to do something about it. I hope that today's episode got you thinking in some ways. I hope it challenges you to say, oh yeah, what ways could I bring that forward in my own life? I hope it breathes some good oxygen into you. I hope it reminds you that you are a thermostat for other people. And I hope that you realize that your own mindset, your actions, your interactions, they do spread and impact the people around you. So I hope you'll keep tuning in. If any of these topics, if you have any feedback or topics or ideas about future topics you want us to dive into, I hope you'll email us info@jasonvbarger.com, info@jasonvbarger.com, and share your thoughts. So excited to continue to hopefully give some content that breathes some good oxygen into you and helps you think about the temperature you're trying to set in your life and your work. Remember, the best leaders, teams, and cultures on the planet stimulate progress by recalibrating their thermostats together and then breathe good oxygen into each other and into the room and into the work that they do. We've got to step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.